All right, what's up, boys? How's it going? Brady back with another video. Got this question a few times already, and I assume I'm probably going to get it a few more times in the future, so I just want to make a quick video about it now. And that question is, what is the build that I run for my Shadowhunter in PvP currently, in the videos that you watch on my YouTube and then on my Twitch stream as well? This is a pretty meta build, so you're not going to see anything too crazy with what I run here. I'll probably start messing around with other abilities once I get a bit more familiar with the mechanics of Lost Ark. But yeah, let's get to the video. All right, this website is fantastic for Lost Ark builds. I just found this recently, actually. It's called lostark.ru. You do have to do the translation thing at the top when you open up the website. I think it's in Russian, so you just have to translate to English. If it doesn't work, just refresh the page, and then it should work then. It should pop up at the top right of the page when you open it. So these are the 8 abilities that I've run. Lightning Cast, Circular Saw, Crewless Section, and the rest. I don't know if the ability names will be the same on NA. I'm not too sure. I think they'll all be different. I think this is like a translation from Russian to English, so it might be a bit off. So if you're trying to familiarize yourself with the abilities, just look at the ability icon instead of the ability name. That's just going to be way more helpful than actually trying to remember the name, because I think it actually might be different on NA launch. Let's start with Lightning Cast. So when I click one of these abilities, the tripods pop up for that ability on the right side here. What tripods are is basically enhancers for that certain ability that you can level up and choose and have a selection from. So when you put 4 points into or when you get to the 4th stage of the ability, you can pick one of these, the 7th stage here, and then the 10th stage here. So you can only pick one from each row. And what these kind of do is just change up the ability, right? So outstanding mobility, dash range increases by 2 meters. So Lightning Cast is the mobility of Shadowhunter. It's not the only mobility you actually have. You also have Desperate Breakthrough, but Lightning Cast is kind of what allows you to move around the map really well. So you have 2 dashes with this because you get continuous movement down here at the bottom. So that's really nice. So you basically have 2 dashes. You see me doing this a lot, either to initiate in a fight or disengage from a fight. Usually the combo with Lightning Cast is either 1 or 2 procs of Lightning Cast, or 2 dashes into Desperate Breakthrough. This can close a massive gap between you and your opponent if you are trying to get into melee range. So this is just really good. Outstanding mobility is kind of necessary, just increases the dash range, just makes you more mobile. And then swift movement increases your movement speed by 5 seconds, or 4 or 5 seconds after you cast it. Yeah, see the translation is a bit odd. But let's move on to Circular Saw. So this is kind of the Draven ult. If you're familiar with Draven from League of Legends, whenever you see this ability, this is kind of what I just called the Draven ult. No idea what it's going to be called in an A. Deep Wound, this basically just puts a bleed on the target that you hit. Circular Saw is just an insane ability. It almost kind of acts as like an initiation for you, because the range is just insane. It can go cover like at least half the map. So if you hit somebody with this and they are within like the sweet spot of it, you'll see the difference. Sometimes if you hit them, it'll just push them away but not actually drag them back in. If you hit them with the sweet spot of it, it'll catch them, push them back, bleed them, and then actually pull them back in because of this boomerang effect, which is the third tripod, the 10th stage tripod, which, I mean, is exactly what it sounds like, just a boomerang. So it goes back, so it goes forward and comes back to you, just like the Draven ult in League of Legends. Overclocking, it just changes the damage depending on the distance. So the bleed is insane, and then the boomerang is necessary. So a Crewless Section is almost like another Draven ability. It also comes back to you just naturally. It just doesn't do as much of a stagger. It doesn't hold the enemy in place as long as Circular Saw does, it seems like. This just increases the range. You're going to want this, obviously. This reduces the movement speed of the target when you hit them. So you kind of have a couple different ways to initiate. A few different ways to initiate, to be honest, because we haven't even gotten to the range abilities yet. But if you hit an enemy with Circular Saw, which is the silver icon here, or Crewless Section, they're a little bit different. This one comes out a bit faster. It doesn't do as much damage, but it slows them and it staggers them, right? Everything in the game naturally staggers people. And then with this tripod, it makes it really easy to initiate on a target that you hit with Crewless Section. And then this just increases the damage. Desperate Breakthrough is basically your initiation. It is what closes like the final gap between you and your target. Everything else in this build for the Shadowhunter and the toolkit is kind of setting up the initiate. And then this is kind of the initiation. So this would just increase the dash. This just allows you to close a massive gap between you and your target. It's difficult to explain what this actually does because the English translation is kind of bad. But when you cast it, if you didn't have this tripod, it would just kind of it wouldn't do as much damage if you didn't have this. When you dash with this tripod, you kind of spin in a circle, and it actually does a decent amount of damage, especially if you crit. So maybe you could switch around a couple of these tripods, but I switched into this recently, and it's doing really well for myself. So, and then this is just base stats, basically increase the crit chance and the crit damage. So it is your initiation, but it can actually do a lot of damage as well, especially if it crits because of sudden death. Petronian Claw is not so much a damage ability, but more of basically just a knockup. This is pretty much just like your hard CC. A lot of every single one of your abilities do some sort of CC, but this is a knockup CC. And if you put this point in tenacity, it basically makes you you can't be interrupted when you cast it. So this is quite necessary for it. You don't want to put points in the other tripods; they're not that great. This is just part of like your combo rotation, right? You get in with Desperate Breakthrough. You either press Crack Blade or Claw, and then or Desperate Breakthrough, Claw into Crack Blade. This is just a knockup, basically, for your team. Crack Blade, this is a really high damaging ability. This is the ability that kind of summons like a demon on your back and smashes the ground in front of you. It's a pretty nasty ability. Same with Petronian Claw. This tripod just basically makes you immune to stun effects when you're casting it, which is insane. This changes the ability up a little bit. Instead of hitting 3 times with Cracked Blade, which is what you would be doing if you didn't have this tripod, this throws the enemy into the air. It basically changes the ability in a good way that you want for PvP. Then Human Power. It doesn't accumulate Chaos Energy, but the damage is basically doubled. So what Chaos Energy is the bar in the middle bottom of your screen that allows you to turn into demon form. You just would take the double damage over the Chaos Energy any day of the week, to be honest. Death Ray. This is an insane ability. There's a couple of different tripods that you can switch around here. You could go Energy Concentration. This is really risky and a bit dangerous, but it is super satisfying if you can land it, and it just does a lot more damage. But Fast Beam is better because the reason that you use Death Ray is just to stun the enemy. What Death Ray is just the laser that comes out in a straight line. You have to preemptively aim it. It's a skill shot. If you hit somebody with it, they get stunned, and this basically just makes the stun come out faster, right? This is probably I would say arguably one of the best abilities in the Shadowhunter toolkit, because it can begin the chain of CC for you to initiate onto a target. It can peel. It does good damage. It's just a really good ability. This is what stuns them, basically. So you're going to want this tripod. I mean, it's a 3-second stun. It's absolutely insane. And now I don't quite know what this does, to be quite honest with you. The English translation is pretty bad. Skill becomes normal. Now it is applied instantly. I'm not too sure. I think this might mean that the laser just comes out instantly instead of it being casted. I am not too sure what this does, if you want me to be completely honest. But it's good. Piercing Spikes. This is the best peeling ability that you have for your team. If you have like a Sork, if you have a Sorceress on your team, you can use Piercing Spikes, throw it on top of your Sork if there's like a Berserker on them. And what this does is throws out a massive AoE of spikes that come from the ground and knocks up enemies that are caught inside it. It does okay damage. It's not insane damage. This just increases the damage by a little bit. This is just your peeling. It's going to act as like an initiate tool if you want it to, because you can knock up if the person doesn't have their trinket roll dodge up from being knocked down. You can line it up with a Death Ray CC, or just come in with Desperate Breakthrough, or Draven ult into Cruel Dissection. There's a lot of different things that you can play off of if you hit somebody with this. But primarily it's just a peeling ability. This increases the damage, and then Giant Spikes just increases the range. You're going to want this. Just more damage increase, and the AoE is just a larger radius, right? So this is insane. So that is the build. And then for my Awakening skill, I use Deathgate. It's not on here, unfortunately. It is the massive AoE that you put in the ground that summons like a Hellgate, stuns enemies inside it, staggers them, and then fears them at the end. It's an insane ability. It's your ultimate ability, basically. 3-minute cooldown. You can only use it once in PvP, so it's very good. And it gives you a ton of Chaos Energy to turn into your demon form. And that is the ult that I use. I've never even used the other one. I've heard that it is very bad, so I've just never even looked into it. You're just going to want to run with Demon Gate. I will post the link for this build in the description below for you guys. This is a really good website for builds, lostark.ru. I'll post a link to the website itself, and then a link to the build itself as well. All right, that is the end of the video, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.